Is it over? Can I go home now? No, you may not. Well, the center tuning knob came from Renovated Radios today. Now all I needed was the knob. But naturally what I like to do is order a whole bunch of other stuff with it because I know I'm going to need it at some point. So what I ordered were some thick washers, they're used a lot on Zeniths, and some Philco tuner mount washers and some Philco chassis mount washers. Those things are always useful. But I want to show you this knob. These Renovated Radios, if you don't use Renovated Radios, then you're missing out on something. Let me pull this knob out, I'll show you what I mean. Alright, so here's that knob. This came just today from Renovated. Look at how nicely that's made. I like that a lot. Very nice detail. Beautiful knob. This is going to work out great. The thing I like about Renovated Radios is that they make their knobs made to last longer because they're not hollow on the backside. Especially with Zeniths, it's a real problem when you get knobs that are hollow back here, and the knobs begin to warp and they crack and they don't work very well anymore. Well, Renovated is smart. They build these things solid so that they don't have that problem. This knob will outlast the other knobs, I'm sure. It's not as fragile as the original knobs, and it looks just as good. He has a way of making this plastic look very much like the original plastic. See, I'm testing it out right now. And here are all my various grommets and mount washers and so forth. I don't want to take them all out and have them rolling all over the place, but he does a really good job. These Renovated Radios will take good care of you. I mentioned that I replaced the tuning eye, so what I put in it was a new old stock 6E5. Now what's in there is a 6G5, but I can't find that. It's an ST style tube, very difficult, if not impossible to find, but the 6E5 works out just fine. This is brand new old stock. I know it's got a little bit of wear on the letters, that's just from handling, but I promise you this is new old stock, works great. Besides, those of you that know these things know that they don't light very brightly if they've been sitting a long time, even if they weren't used much. Somehow they just die. They're kind of like some old TV screens. But in any event, this thing works fantastic. It's really bright. You saw it in the video. And this thing's going to last for years, especially if he plays this radio regularly. So there we go. I'm in the home stretch, guys. Almost done with this radio, and then I get to move on to the Scott 800B. Ooh. The escutcheon for the 811K came to me missing the two indicator lamp lenses or labels. The one on the left should say speech and the one on the right should say music. And of course they need to be in the same font as that one there, as those two there. So all I could do was try to make some. This isn't the kind of thing that you find on most of the radio sites. Don't know why, they're fairly simple to make. So I just went into Microsoft Word and I found the font that was closest and I printed them like so inside of a text box which I could fill with black. And since I couldn't get exactly the right color, what I actually did was I chose a color that very as closely as possible matched the color of those labels there. And for example, these right here. Okay, so I chose that color and then I overlaid that very carefully on top of another color to try and bring the color as close as I could to the color of the original when the light is shining through it. So when the light shines through this, it actually shines rather yellow. Let me see if I can do this without overwhelming the camera. See, it shines through kind of yellow. Okay, yellow. There's a yellow with a slightly orange tint. So what I needed to do, of course, was try and get those colors behind this off-white color. Now I've done that. These are all the same font size. So these are all size 16 in Microsoft Word. And I printed them all on the same printer so that they would come out, they would render exactly the same size. And besides, the black background of one layer shines through too much. Okay, but if I put two layers on, it doesn't shine through nearly as bad. See? So that will help a lot, because if you look at the label, the original label, there's almost no shine through at all till I get right on top of the lamp. So that black is about right. I know there's a tiny bit of red in this, but I'm going to have to live with that, because I think that if I could tinker with this forever and never get exactly there, but I came pretty darn close. The font is close, the size is close, the color will be close. And then, of course, I'm going to have to, since I'm using 2 layers of paper, I don't really have to have a diffuser like this. That white here is just a plastic diffuser so that the light doesn't shine too intensely in the middle and not at all on the outside. But 2 pieces of paper will work just fine to do the same thing. Now I have to make a little acetate, or modern plastic like PETE or something like that, little window to put on the front like these have. Now these windows have lifted some from the label, but I'm not going to mess with those. They're original. I'll leave them be. They look good enough. But I have to build little windows for this one here, and then I want to put a window on the back side as well to keep moisture and crap from getting on the paper, and if I glue it up, it'll keep the paper flat too. And then I mount that assembly into these windows in the plastic. So this is 10-aught plastic. So what I'll try to use as little glue as possible, because as the 10-aught shrinks, the glue is going to crack anyway. So I will be very gentle about it. But I'm going to go ahead and glue that. This is really the last step to finishing up the 811K, is to build these little windows, these indicator windows, mount them in this escutcheon, and get the escutcheon on the radio. Well, hey, guess what? The time has finally come to turn on the old RCA 811K and watch it work. Those of you that watch my videos know that I've been working on this thing for some time now, and I'll be real happy to get it done and get it to the owner and make him happy. When this thing is done, I can relax until after Christmas, because this was my last Christmas job that had to be done. Now this thing, I've played it. I have to tell you, I've played it some, and I'm real happy with it. It does have a phono input on the back, and the phono input, it's not very good for using a Bluetooth. A Bluetooth will play through it, but you have to turn it all the way up to make it work. I tried a couple different capacitors, and there's really not a lot to do to make it better. It's designed for an inexpensive phonograph, which they usually have a 2 to 3 volt output with those old crystal cartridges. And this thing here, we're talking maybe 500 millivolts, a half a volt output from this thing. So it's barely going to touch it. And so that's okay. If he wants to play a phonograph, one thing he can do is get an old RCA 45 player. That'll do it. Some of the early changers with 33, different speeds will also do it. So he can, it does work. And when I was working on the chassis, I put a 2 volt input into the thing and checked frequency response, and it worked really well. So I know that's working, but it doesn't work well with one of these little guys. Oh well, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It would take some mods that I don't always have success with to make this work, and to be honest with you, most people don't consider it that valuable. Alright, so I'm going to turn this on in a minute, and then once I turn it on, I'm going to kind of give you the walk around tour. I just want you to see it work. I want you to observe the electric tuning. Now this does have 10-aught escutcheon, and like every radio that has 10-aught, this 10-aught has shrunk some. So it is pulled away at the top of the 3 pieces of the escutcheon. This actually is in excellent condition considering what most 10-aught escutcheons look like. So I'm real pleased with it. If this were my radio, I'd be making a mold of this escutcheon. You see I have some help here. I'd be making a mold of that escutcheon so that I could make some maybe out of some resin or something like that. I'm considering, I've got an 812K, and it's got a decent escutcheon too, and I'll probably make a mold out of that. This was also missing the indicator labels on the speech and the music, the tone indicators. So I had to make those, and I talked about that in an earlier part of the video. So I just used a little bit of Microsoft Word. I will show you how those work. I'll show you the tuning eye. It's got a new old stock tuning eye, an RCA new old stock tuning eye, no less. And all the lights are working, electric tuning's working, tone control, everything is working. So on this radio, for those of you that don't know the 811K, tuning is on this set of knobs here. Most 811Ks, this middle knob in the front here is the fine tuning or the vernier tuning. On this radio, it's missing the shaft for the vernier tuning, so it's just fine tuning or coarse tuning it's set up for, but it tunes fine. I've had lots of radios that's all they have, and it works great. This is a well-made radio, so it's not really a problem. So you have tuning here. Of course, you have your electric push buttons for electric presets. Now remember, this radio does not tune electrically for manual tuning. It only tunes, mechanically for that. The electric tuning is only for preset. So, okay, so you have the on, off, and tone control here. And the two tone settings they've labeled as speech and music. The on-off switch is integral with the tone control only in that it shares a shaft. Okay, the on-off switch is your basic on-off switch, but it mounts differently than other ones. It mounts with two little pegs. That makes it hard to get. And this on-off switch, like a lot of people I've seen working on these radios, these 811Ks, 812Ks, 813Ks, that on-off switch gets sticky and doesn't work very well. The tone control works fine because that's a wafer switch, but the on-off does not work so well. And so what I've done, and I'll show this to you in a minute, I have put an auxiliary switch on the back of the radio, and I've advised the owner to only use that switch to turn it on and off. Unless they're demonstrating the radio, then they can use this on-off switch from the front of the radio. That should work okay. The trouble with that is that you do that too many times and it's finally going to fail completely. All right, so you have on-off and tone. What you have right here is, this is the volume, just a standard ordinary volume. The range selector means band. So it's got three bands. It's got broadcast, medium wave, which is basically the low end of the short wave, up to about 6.5 megahertz, I believe. Then starting down here, it goes from 7 megahertz on up to about 22. So those are the three bands. What I really dig about this has, these are all presets. All 8 of them are presets, but these are labeled with station call letters, and these are labeled with what RCA sold it with. I'm sure I see this on a lot of these kind of radios, RCA all the way. RCA all the way, really kind of funky. But you know what, it's cute, and it's something that ought to stay there. I put a new speaker cloth in. I know it's not the original RCA, but it comes pretty close. RCAs look okay with the tan. There is a local shop here that I work with a lot that did the cabinet. A fellow named Michael Enzyme owns a place called Enzyme Fine Finishing, and he's on West Temple in Salt Lake City. This guy's great. He's done a lot of cabinets that I've been involved with. So what will happen is somebody will bring him a radio or bring me a radio, and we usually split that work because this is his specialty. He does furniture. I do electronics. I can do cabinets, but it takes me forever. And he can get a nice cabinet done like this in a week or so and have it look better than the ones I can do. So, it's best to know what you're good at and work on that. When I get the time, I've set up my wood shop. I'll practice cabinets myself. That's something I got coming down the road. But he did a nice job on the cabinet. The radio sounds really good. Now, when I first turn it on, you're going to hear the fluorescent lights buzzing in my radio. I tried some LED lights in my basement. They buzz too. So I'm just going to have to get some pretty strong incandescents in here for radio demonstrations. So I'll tell you what, I'll put my supervisor down here and I'll turn the radio on and we'll take a look at it. So just let me get the camera off the tripod and we'll take a look at the radio. Pardon the extreme lighting here, but it's all I can do because I have to turn off my fluorescents. So I'm going to reach back, I'll show you where it is in a minute, but I'm going to reach back and turn on that auxiliary power switch. Now I have other fluorescents on still in the garage on the other side of the wall. And there's actually a charger over there too that buzzes and makes a hell of a racket in radios. But that's a little farther away. Trouble is my antenna that runs through the garage goes right past a set of fluorescent lights. So I'm going to fix all that, but for now we're going to have to tolerate it. So okay, we turn it on. The first thing you notice are these indicator lights come on. And you see RCA all the way. That's pretty funny. And you have your radio presets over here. You can see broadcast is selected. I hope you can see it. Let's see what we got playing here.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. Wish you a Merry Christmas.
So if I get copyright ding on this song, then this isn't America anymore. Alright, so, you know, come on, guys, leave this one alone. Alright, so let's select another station. Watch the tuning eye.
Second time we're back to back. And a couple of those trips to the foul line, by the way, were a little iffy.
Information. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states.
Nice sound.
Consumer access out
Change the tone. It's hard to discern the tone with the camera, but we'll give it a shot. Hear that bass drop out some? You hear that? Okay, so that's basically a bass roll off.
Commercial and future ads. That number is 801-59400. Good luck.
Do you want to build a business that makes a difference in people's lives? What about a career with enormous financial security and control over your destiny?
Ah, yeah, here it is. You all know I love Mexican music. Alright, I have not set station presets because I leave that to the owner to do. I'll show him how to do it, and I'm going to leave it to him to set them. It's easy to do, especially on this radio, because you can get to the preset, the drum, really easily. But let me show you the presets. So it'll stop at a place where there isn't really any radio station, but you'll see that. You'll get the idea how it works. Alright, so that means I have to go to electric. Now it's on electric tuning. Let's pick a station. Now watch, listen, the sound will cut out when I hit this. You've seen it before on my bench. Alright. Now we'll reverse. There it goes. And it'll find the station somewhere to the right of where it was. There you go. Pretty cool. I'll show you a close-up of that. Okay, I've turned off the flash because I want you to see that needle, and the flash was glaring too much. So watch, check this out. If you can see it. Let me see if, there we go. That is the coolest thing in the world. It's like playing with an old-timey Rector set. I just really, really dig that. Man, that's the funkiest thing I've ever seen. I'm just in love with it. So that's the electric tuning. While I'm at it, let me turn the flash on. I have to turn the stupid camera off to do that. So let me do that, and then I'll show you the rest of the radio. The fact that I have to stop the camera from filming to turn the flash on is more proof that the people that design crap don't use the crap. So whoever designed this Samsung Galaxy phone has never had to try and film in varying light conditions. But you know, they're not always thinkers. They may be smart, but they're not thinkers. Okay, so here we go. Here's the top of the radio. It's a lovely radio. I'll turn the light on in a minute, but I just so get into this dial. So let me put it back to manual so I can tune it manually. There we go.
Favoritism is okay in that regard. In a Judeo-Christian nation, you're darn tootin' it is. When you know who you favor the Judeo-Christian nation. That doesn't mean you have to make somebody feel terrible. I mean, but this goes back.
It was Mike Gallagher. I kind of like him.
All right, 855-212-4227. By the way, Mafia with 7.9 boards.
I think the math of that would...
Bring us to the Father. That's the whole plan of God.
Dark. Taylor? Dita?
That's my fluorescent lights. They scream when you get down low on the band.
Taylor, spinning around.
Okay, I doubt we'll get anything on shortwave, but I'll try it. So let's move it over. Watch the indicator. Oops, I put it on electric. That was dumb. I'm going to let it stop first. Watch the indicator. Here we go. Okay, that's medium. I doubt I'll pick up much right now. It's early. It's real early evening, so I don't usually get much this time. It's late at night when I get it. Let's try shortwave. I know I won't get anything there, but it's what the heck. You can hear a whisper of a station there. There we go. See, you can tune it without the vernier. I like the vernier, it's cool and all. And I'm going to look for the shaft for this guy. So basically I used some 3M emblem adhesive to hold this knob onto here. That way when we find the shaft, this knob will come off and we can put the shaft in and then mount the knob properly. So there are stations coming. You hear a couple of them. You should hear the time station here pretty soon. I think we're right at the cusp. The sun has gone down, but it's early. So that's okay. I listened to some shortwave the other night, and it's working fine. Put it on speech. You know, a little while when things quiet down out there, you'll be able to hear those better. But anyway, I wanted to demonstrate that the shortwave is receiving signals. It is working, but it's the wrong time of day to pick up a lot of good stuff. So I'm going to turn it down and put it back to broadcast. All right, so let me pause it and we'll take a look at the back side of this. Here's the back side of the cabinet and chassis. Michael Ensign does a really good job of preserving the decals. So there's the original RCA decal. He didn't damage that in the least. It looks really nice. He even cleaned it up some, so it, you know, because it had some scuff marks on it. And there's the inside of it. It's a funky green color, very odd color. Michael cleaned it up real nicely. There's the speaker harness going down into the chassis or into the cabinet. All right, this here is that auxiliary switch that I told you about. So I'll turn it off real quick. See that? As I mentioned in an earlier video, it's a good 5 amp switch. It's I bought a small one on purpose so it'd be rather discreet, but it is a nice, well-made 5 amp switch. And there's the vintage fuse holder. I've got a 1.5 amp fuse in there, and it seems to be working fine. I've not had any trouble with that. Transformer does not get hot. It just gets warm the way it's, you know, the way you would expect it to. There are the preset tuning drum of discs, okay, and there's that reversing switch that I fussed with a little bit. So we got that squared away. Everything up here is the motor. The motor looks good and clean. Okay, so here's all the harnesses and the wires that I put in. That tuning eye wire was in such good shape that I left it alone because it's in such a prominent location. All right, so but all the indicator lamp wires were shot, so they had to be replaced. So there's all of this stuff. There are the 3 IF cans. For those of you that are going to be aligning your own, this one here is the 3rd IF, that L23. When you read the alignment instructions, it's real important that you take note of what you do with L23 before you do anything else. Okay, so there's all that's done. There's, you know, this is where you would hook up, and I forgot to hook up this. This is just a metal plate that goes under the radio. It's basically a shield, and you connect it to ground. Down here, it's got this weird sonic arch, I think, arc or arch, I think they called it. It's basically a baffle to kind of close the speaker off. And it actually works real nice because it made a difference when I put it on. There was much more bass sound to the radio. So actually, I'm kind of pleased with it. So the speaker is all cleaned up and it's in there. So everything's in working order. I am going to turn on the lights so you can see the cabinet. Okay guys, I'm going to show you the cabinet. Just look at the wood on this thing. Look how gorgeous, man. Even with the escutcheon that has shrunk a tiny bit, and it's not quite exactly straight, it looks just glorious. I'm really, really happy with the way this looks. Now, the problem I'm talking about is really minor. It's right there, just a small gap at the top of each of the side parts of the escutcheon. No big deal. The tenite itself looks really good. The tenite just polishes up nicely. The buttons look good. You know, the lettering looks good. There is the RCA all the way that I just get the biggest kick out of. You notice there are no cracks on this tenite, so I did not over tighten these screws. I'm going to warn the owner, do not over tighten these. This tenite, it seems like it wouldn't be fragile, but you over tighten it and they will crack. So I'm going to warn him about that. There is Michael over at Enzyme, put the decals on, did a real nice job of that. And everything looks real good. There's the speaker cloth. All right, nice looking radio, beautiful wood, just gorgeous. Michael does a really nice job of bringing out the wood, the beauty that sold these radios in the first place. So it's just a really nice piece of furniture. You know, that was what people were buying back in 1937. I think I might have the year wrong on the name of the videos, but I'm not about to change it. I have heard a couple people on other videos say that these were made in 37 for the 38 model year. I don't know. I mean, you know, everything I found was dated 37, so that's what I've been calling it, and I'm going to stick to my guns. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So just look at that. Look at that wood. It's just beautiful. RCA built quality stuff. You know, they didn't build junk. And it's just a nice, nice looking set. You know, look up there at that beautiful, beautiful dial. It's just got a nice look to it. Nice flocking on there. The print is in good shape. Everything about it is nice. The indicators are nice. You see no cracks on that tenite, none. This tenite, you know, it has minimal problems related to the fact that it's tenite. And you know what? I have seen a lot worse in Silvertones and airlines and stuff like that. Perhaps RCA used a better grade. Perhaps there's something they did differently. But all I know is the RCA ones seem to hold up better. All right, guys. I just wanted to show this radio. Finally, it's done. I'm going to hook up that ground lead on the back for that plate. I'm still fashioning a tool for adjusting the presets. But those of you that had these radios, get yourself the documentation for the radio. It shows you how to set them, and it shows what the tool is supposed to look like. I'm actually going to use a trimmer tweaker because I want it to be plastic. I don't want somebody sticking metal back there. And it needs to be straight and needs to be easy to handle. So a trimmer tool will be just fine, one that's worn out perhaps. And I think the owner's going to like this. He's going to pick it up Saturday. But for all intents and purposes, this radio is done. I'm finished with it. There won't be any more videos. It's the last video. So I'm happy to be moving on. I'm going to be starting a Scott 800B soon. I'll be documenting that one. You'll get tired of me by the time I get through with that because that's a monster of a radio and everything that can go wrong is wrong with it. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. Best regards and wishes for a very Merry Christmas coming from both Missy and me. From Salt Lake City, your Western Outpost. This is Michael, and I'll talk to you soon. That's all for now.